Okay, so thanks very much for the introduction. My talk is titled Research from a Local Perspective. So having worked in a number of countries and seeing lots of different researchers come in from academic centers around the world into developing countries, something I see consistently is an inability to communicate very clearly with the local health authorities and with the local population about the research they're doing and why that's important. And this undermines the ability of the research really to be effective, actually. So this is really about how the local population see international researchers, like most of us, as we come into mostly lower and middle income countries. So there's actually a lot of problems, but the one that I'll touch on fairly briefly here is that research projects are often seen by the health authorities and the Ministry of Health as foreign and not local priorities. This is a common problem and something that I've seen and been involved with multiple times. Specific example was when we were doing genetic epidemiology of Zika virus, actually. So my background's infectious diseases in the Pacific Islands. Explaining to the Pacific Island Ministries of Health why it was important to conduct this research and draw blood from potential Zika virus patients was always challenging when we talk about this type of research. So really, the key is that research that we are going to perform really should be seen as practical and pragmatic and have a clear impact for the local population. I think these are things that most of us are aware of, but I think sometimes we forget. So what is the problem? The problem, if we don't assure that, is that we do not have we do not have support from the health authorities. And in most of these settings, as most of you I think know, is ministries of health or divisions of health. So if we do not have support from the Ministry of Health and the health authorities, what are the complications and consequences of that? And there's a couple of examples, key examples, which actually can prevent and inhibit the studies going forward. So IRB, or ethics approval. Often these committees sit within the Ministries of Health. If the Ministries of Health are not clearly supportive and on board with the research, it typically will limit or prevent the progression through the committees, or at least slow it down, or not progress at all. So this I've seen, again, many times. Funders, clearly, Bill Gates, the rest, they want to see that the Ministry of Health or the health authorities are supportive of any research that's going to be done in the target country for obvious reasons, for ethical reasons, but also for operational reasons to make sure it's successful. And then commitment of the Ministry of Health. So we're working every day with Ministry of Health counterparts, and if we don't have the Ministry of Health hierarchy supportive, this undermines the support and the commitment of our counterparts to support our projects, all of which undermine the ability to get research done. So to me, there's a couple of key points that I think are important when we think about this problem. It's a broad problem, but broadly, developing relationships. This is Sabida Parsetti is a researcher in the photograph right here. She's from Boston, but she works in West Africa a lot. And I put this photo because I think it's a fantastic example of how people develop relationships with the local counterparts. So we go and have dinner, or we go to a party, or we go dancing, or we play the drums, or whatever it might be. And developing these relationships, I think, is critical for successful implementation in many of these settings. Sometimes this sort of thing is not possible in humanitarian emergencies, but the principle, I think, is always key to develop these relationships. And then being honest and frank with the counterparts and respecting the counterparts. Probably that, if I could say one problem that overrides everything, it's countries not or perceiving that the researchers coming in do not have a respect for their infrastructure and their capacities. And I think if we do not demonstrate that respect, it undermines our ability to work closely with the Ministries of Health, who are the key partners the vast majority of the time. Occasionally we can work with NGOs. The vast majority of the time it's Ministries of Health. So that's it. Thank you.